Warning: this video contains spoilers for Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc and Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. I suggest playing through Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc and Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair before watching this video for context on the subjects mentioned in this analysis. Topics such as killing and execution are mentioned in this video. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Improving Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair's Conclusion. Why Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair's ending needs work. Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair is regarded by many fans as the best title within the Danganronpa trilogy. It has a unique setting, memorable cast of characters, and interesting mysteries, easily earning its high praise. Despite these positive qualities, I believe there are a few glaring issues with this beloved title, at the forefront being its conclusion. Goodbye Despair's ending is a mixed bag, holding both awe-striking reveals and great character development, along with plot inconsistencies and the return of Junko and Oshima. The good parts of Goodbye Despair's finale. Throughout the course of Goodbye Despair's story, there is a fair amount of foreshadowing focused on the setting of the killing game and the truth behind the killing game's participants. The ending does a fantastic job of realizing that foreshadowing with two major reveals. One, that the killing game is set within a virtual space, and two, that the participants of the killing game were originally ultimate despairs that were being rehabilitated within said virtual space. These reveals are satisfying for what the story was setting up, and they provide a great irony for the rest of the killing game to be set within. The killing game is made worse because its setting was originally intended for growth and hope, while the killings are undermined since they occurred within a virtual space. The characters' reactions to these reveals also felt natural, with the cast despairing over the new information before deciding to create their own path to the future. The survivors of Goodbye Despair. The surviving characters of Goodbye Despair are fairly well-rounded overall, those survivors being Hajime Hinata, Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu, Akane Owari, Sonya Nevermind, and Kazuichi Soda. Starting off, Hajime is the player character. Alongside that, he also had interesting development throughout Goodbye Despair. Hajime started off with a low self-esteem, though as the game continued he gained self-confidence and strength in part due to a close friend, Chiaki Nanami. Fuyuhiko grew from a closed-off character filled with resentment to a more open and passionate individual. His arc is centered around maturing emotionally after the death of a loved one, which developed Fuyuhiko into a character worthy of surviving the killing game. Akane Owari also works as a survivor because of the development she encountered throughout the story. Akane's progression wasn't as pronounced as Fuyuhiko's, though it held power through her realization of how she put others in harm's way, as well as her growth after the death of Nekomaru Nidai. Akane's evolution into a more thoughtful person cements her as a surviving member of the cast. On the other hand, Sonya didn't develop at all throughout the course of the killing game. She encountered great challenges and loss by the end of Goodbye Despair, though because her character was nearly perfect at the start of the game, Sonya didn't have space to develop into a more fleshed out character. Kazuichi has a similar problem of a lack of development. While Kazuichi's confidence increased by the finish of the killing game, his minimal development can be explained through the lack of hardships he faced when compared to the other characters. Each surviving member of the killing game had to deal with the death of someone close to them, all except Kazuichi. Without a reason to develop, Kazuichi only grew in a very basic sense of becoming less frightened. Because of their lacking development, Sonya Nevermind and Kazuichi Soda are the weakest survivors in Goodbye Despair. The bad parts of Goodbye Despair's conclusion. Alongside some underdeveloped characters, issues with Goodbye Despair's conclusion arise with the reappearance of Junko and Oshima. The reintroduction of Junko as a mastermind feels lazy and creates multiple plot holes. The first issue Junko causes happens when the cast of Goodbye Despair is said to have used pieces of Junko's body in some indecent ways. This doesn't make sense considering the conclusion of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, where Junko is executed by being crushed under a hydraulic press. The ending also glosses over how an AI version of Junko was created, which makes her reappearance feel baseless. Junko's reuse also overshadows the true mastermind of Goodbye Despair, Izuru Komakura. Despite starting the killing game, Izuru has a complete lack of interaction with it while it's in motion. This causes Izuru's involvement as the mastermind to be both lackluster and forgettable. In fact, most fans don't remember him as the mastermind of Goodbye Despair at all, naming Junko as the true mastermind because of her larger involvement. How to improve Goodbye Despair's ending. To improve Goodbye Despair's ending, first I would make a few adjustments to the surviving students of the killing game. Since Sonia Nevermind didn't have room to develop, I believe she should have died throughout the duration of the killing game. To preserve Sonia and Gundam's relationship from Chapter 4, I would start their flirting in Chapter 3 or possibly Chapter 2 before Sonia's death. This would give a greater meaning to her death, which would take place in Chapter 3, but it would also give Gundam a partial motive to kill, since the person he cared about most is already gone. Plus, in Gundam's confession, there could be a bittersweet line about finally being able to see Sonia again in the afterlife after crawling out of hell. Sonia's death would also lead to Kazuichi receiving the character development he requires. To improve his arc, I would make him grow to appreciate the people who actually care about him, and have him wish to protect the others going forward despite his lacking physical strength. With Sonia out of the picture, there is a slot open for another character to take as a survivor. I believe that the character that has the most potential for further growth is Hyoko Saionji, one of the victims of Chapter 3. I don't believe that she was originally intended to be a survivor, like some rumors speculate, though I think that her arc was cut short with her abrupt killing. Hyoko had all the pieces in place for major development, and if she survived past Chapter 3, I believe she would have grown to be a character worthy of surviving the killing game. With the changes to the survivors put in place, I think the mastermind is the next piece that needs work. I genuinely believe AI Junko is a hindrance to the ending, so I would remove her wholesale. Instead of Junko running the killing game for a second time, I think having Izuru controlling the killing game is a better choice. Izuru has extraordinary skills in perception, so I don't doubt him being able to imitate Monokuma since he likely saw some of the first killing game. This does require Hajime to become an AI, though I think it makes more sense than AI Junko considering the existence of Chiaki as an AI in Goodbye Despair. Now, when the 6th trial happens, not only would the students have to face off against someone who was supposed to be their friend, but it would also cause inner turmoil for Hajime and suspicion towards him. The final battle against Izuru would represent the characters fighting against who they would become, making the conclusion more meaningful. It also highlights Izuru's role as the mastermind of Goodbye Despair, giving him a stronger involvement and greater stakes. Concluding thoughts. By changing a few aspects of Goodbye Despair's conclusion, I believe a more compelling ending can be easily reached. Even with the issues mentioned throughout this video, I am still a major fan of the entire Danganronpa trilogy, and I thoroughly enjoyed Goodbye Despair's ending, even with its faults. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, and I hope you have a fantastic day.